sincerity to it, didn't it? Speed. All right, and answer right into the lens, if you will. This is the, we got speed? Speed. All right, this is the Maceo Parker interview. Although you play 98% funk and only 2% jazz, Maceo, you have many fans among the jazz audience. How do you explain this?
My name is Maceo Parker. I often think of my concept of my performance as 2% jazz and 98% funky stuff. The concept was brought to me and helped formed by my producer, a German guy by the name of Stefan Meiner. He somewhat thought that since I was from the James Brown sound, so to speak, and also part of Bootsy Collins, Bootsy's Rubber Band, and George Clinton, with all the Funketeer fans throughout the world, it would be maybe a good idea to do 2% jazz, a little bit of jazz. And we kept that concept in our first albums, which we came up with, the Roots Revisited and Mo Roots. Since then, we have picked up what we like to think of as jazz fans to help somewhat balance out the fact that we have a lot of the funky fans, people who love to hear us play funk, and the people who love to hear us play jazz. So with a marriage of the two kind of concepts, we have a lot of fun and get a lot of work.
Great. Maceo, Charlie Parker has had an influence on virtually every type of musician. How's the bird affected your approach to your music?
I'm often asked if, since my last name is Parker, did Charlie Parker have any type of influence on me? I listened to a lot of great saxophonists, as it were, when I was coming up. And Charlie Parker is indeed premier alto player anyway. But as a young musician, I tried to have and create my own style. I thought it would be better to play like Maceo Parker rather than somebody with the same namesake. I love Charlie Parker. I love all musicians. You don't have to be saxophone players. I just love the fact, to me, it's like a great fraternity, sorority kind of a deal to be among all the great entertainers and musicians. But I try not to be influenced that much by anybody, maybe other than Ray Charles.
Maceo, the JB horns have a unique style and sound. Tell us about the evolution and how you developed this style.
Well, here again, most of the guys, Fred Wesley, trombonist, Pee Wee Ellis.
Could you start this with
I'm sorry.
JB horns?
I'm sorry.
JB horns, ready?
I was into the...
Okay, that's right, go.
The JB horns, somehow we all started, as everybody know, with James Brown. And I can't remember what year it was when we decided somewhere down the line maybe we should do something. Maybe we should have a group. Maybe we should form something. Maybe we should try to travel around and like that. We didn't know what we would call it. We didn't know what we were going to record. We didn't know how it was going to turn out. It was going to be a Maceo Parker thing, a Fred Wesley thing. However, we knew we liked each other as musicians. We had worked together a lot of years with James Brown, and we knew that somewhere down the line, this must have been 10 years ago, somewhere down the line we would have some kind of group. So we call it JB Horn sometimes. Sometimes we have Maceo Parker Roots Revisited. Sometimes with Fred Wesley, JBs, and Pee Wee Ellis Assembly. It's only out of the fact that we like each other and we compliment each other when we perform.
Besides the bird, and I know this is a redundant question, who has affected you most in your playing? Who have you admired over the years? When you were a younger man, who was your idol?
I'm often asked if I have idols, or did I have idols as a young musician, and I always have to mention Ray Charles. I don't think I was as serious about becoming a musician or even listening to music until I heard Ray Charles. I remember listening to something like Old Man River or Georgia on My Mind or something like that, and I remember saying to myself, as I must have been about 13, 14 years old, I suppose, said to myself, golly, this guy, genius of soul, because jazz or something, one of the albums, Ray Charles, must be a genius because he has so much soul, so much talent, you can almost see it, you can almost feel it. And I remember saying, if I were an entertainer or a musician, if I could play or have the feelings Ray Charles has, then I can feel that I'm well on my way. There are a few saxophone players who I enjoyed listening to. Out of Ray Charles' band, it was Hank Crawford, David Newman, and then out of his band it was Stanley Turrentine, King Curtis, and my high school band director by the name of James Banks. All of these people had a little bit of influence on me.
One final question. Did you start out to be a musician when you were in school? What did you decide you were going to do with your life? I don't suppose it was, I'm going to be a musician when I get to be a grown-up man. Or was it?
I'm asked, when did I decide to be a musician and entertainer? And I don't know. I think the concept back then was to get an education, get a degree, and teach. And I think something like after my second year of college, I found out that my high school band director was getting ready to get a job with Lloyd Price. And then I had to think, it kind of, because it set me aside for a minute. I said, well, wait a second, I'm trying to get where he is. He's going to join Lloyd Price's band, so maybe there's something other than teaching. And then the opportunity came for me to work with James Brown and just kind of stay parallel with my high school band director. I decided to work with James Brown.
Have you got any advice for the young people coming up in the music business? What would be your words of wisdom to the young people?
Well, if I had words for young musicians or young entertainers, I think I would have something like, I think it's best to try to not really imitate anybody. I think it's best to try to do, as it were, quote, your own thing. Hang in with it. If you love it, you're gonna do it anyway, and just practice, stay with it, and pretty soon something good is gonna happen. And just keep the faith.
Good. Thank you. Good. Thank you.
Thank you.